This is the Dery Brothers Tribecast, a podcast for diehard Cleveland Indians fans. Presented to you by WaitingForNextYear.com. Now, here are the hosts, Matt and Todd Dery.
And we welcome you to another installment of the Dery Brothers Tribecast on WaitingForNextYear.com and wherever you get your podcasts. Matt and Todd with you talking real baseball. And yes, we've got real regular season baseball coming up on Friday night as the Indians open up the 60-game campaign against the Kansas City Royals. Shane Bieber against Danny Duffy. We're going to talk to Andre Knott from STO coming up, Todd. Just exciting to sit back and watch last night and watch some actual baseball from Progressive Field. Man, that felt good, didn't it?
It was so great. It made it feel like it was really summer again. You know, I took the dog for a walk, and at 7:05, 7:04, whatever it was, I turned the TV right on just to lock in, and it was great. I mean, there's several things about the game and the games the last couple nights that I wanted to talk about, but just the fact that we're actually watching real baseball is great for me. I'll tell you what. It's fantastic, man. Let's go. Let's just get me to Friday.
Oh, man. I mean, look, and we're also brought to you by the Center for Advanced Dentistry, Dr. Ben Hornstein. We appreciate him and his sponsorship. Again, Andre Knott coming up momentarily from STO. But, look, Todd, I mean, the Indians have a good baseball team. It's exciting. It's sports. It's live sports on TV, whether it was Saturday night in Pittsburgh against the Pirates, whether it was Christian Arroyo getting a big hit or whatever in the late innings. And then last night as well, watching most of the regulars play and finally wake up with the bats. It took a while. The entire Pittsburgh game in Pittsburgh was mostly reserves hitting and getting going. And then last night the regulars got started. But you have to be excited about the team. The bullpen's a big issue to me. But it seems like the guys are healthy. They're socially distanced, wearing masks, all these things, and hopefully can stay healthy and make a run at this thing.
I look at that lineup right now, and it gets me very excited. I love how Tito has constructed that top five with, new second baseman Cesar Hernandez batting first. Jose Ramirez hitting second is just the ideal spot for him, and having him backed up with Frankie, right behind him, Carlos Santana and Franmil Reyes. That is quite a formidable top five, and we've talked about it before, and I know it's a big media talking point, and I saw this actually last night in the game. This is the first time that a team has had four starting infielders, first base, second base, shortstop, third base, that were all switch hitters since like 1962, which is insane. You would think that at some point that would happen, but I love the way the lineup's constructed. I think Hernandez, with his high on-base percentage, his at-bat last night, and I know this is an exhibition game, and I know that I shouldn't look into – but all you heard about him was he sees a lot of pitches, high on-base percentage guy, good speed, good glove, plays every day, very durable switch hitter. And that first at-bat last night, 12 pitches, he's fouling stuff off, and then he ended up singling. I loved seeing him at the top of the order there. And then you saw – later on in the game when it was the back-to-back two-out doubles by J-Ram and Frankie, and it was just got my juices flowing, man, got me super excited about what this lineup can do for this 60-game sprint.
No, for sure, I don't think the offense is going to be a problem. All of a sudden now, all of the talk, including us, in the offseason was about the outfield and not being able to name – it was like listening to the wrap-up show. Who's talking on the mics? I don't know any of these people. You look at these. You look at the outfield, and you go, "Who are outside of Mercado? What are we going to do? Is Reyes really going to play out there? He's too big to play outfield." And all of a sudden now you look up and you go, "Man, we got a lot of guys. Bradley Zimmer's coming on. Daniel Johnson's not even on the roster right now. Is coming on. Mercado's going to do his thing. Naquin's back and healthy, and we know Tito likes him." Jordan Luplow hit a home run last night. If we're going to have to play all these games and all these days, and Tito loves to mix and match, and then there's going to be injuries, knock on wood, there's going to be COVID, knock on wood, all of a sudden it looks like the outfield isn't as bad as we thought it would be, and it's got some depth to it.
It's funny. Last night during the podcast, at some point, Rick and Matt were talking about Jake Bauers and the at-bats for Jake Bauers. I don't know how Jake Bauers could even sniff this team. The way I looked at it, with all of these outfielders, I had him like 8th or 9th in the pecking order.
Right.
Because if you think about it right now, you're looking at, so I'm going to throw Reyes in there and Domingo Santana as basically an outfielders because they're going to be outfield DH. But so you got Mercado's going to play every day in center field. You got the Luplo, Naquin right field platoon. Left field is supposed to be either Domingo Santana or Reyes. So that's 5 guys right there. Throw Zimmer in the mix, that's 6. I also think that Greg Allen is more valuable right now than Jake Bauers. That's 7. So, and then we're not even talking about Daniel Johnson, who obviously is not with, they sent him back to, the taxi squad. But I just don't see how Jake Bauers is even going to get any at-bats. And then last night he hit that home run. So, and he badly needed it. But the interesting guy
off a lefty.
Yes. The interesting guy there, though, is Bradley Zimmer. I think we'll definitely touch on him when we talk to Andre, but he had 2 more hits last night. You can see it in his stance. He's really tightened up his hands, and he looks different at the plate. He looks more confident. We can't forget back in 2017, before he got hurt, this guy had it going on. I mean, playing great defense in center, was getting on base, super fast, making things happen with his legs. He's got that power stroke. Yeah. Does he strike out too much? Absolutely. But if he cuts down those strikeouts, it's going to be a really interesting situation because I could see him potentially being, if things don't go well with Domingo Santana, a platoon with Domingo Santana in left field. But I really think Zimmer could be a really key X factor to this team this year. What do you think?
No, I agree. And with his speed, with his defense, can play a little center field. If Mercado needs a day off out there, Zimmer can. We saw some spectacular defensive plays that he's made in center field. Covers a lot of ground. Has done that in the past. And you're right. This is a former first-round pick. He should be where he is now, where we're finally excited about him. And look, the outfield logjam and maybe even the logjam with utility guys, including Yu Chang, could lead to another move down the road. And I know our executive producer, Jeremy, has touched on it, where you deal from a position of strength. You've got extra outfielders. Teams are going to have injuries. Teams are going to be desperate. The Indians need another reliever badly. Watching last night, Adam Simmer got out of that one jam, but, then he gives up a bomb or two.
He was a little shaky, too.
The only guy last night that I was comfortable watching was Karinchak. The rest of the rest. I mean, Hunter Woods throws nothing but slop up there, and, all his pitches are in the 80s. Simber, I like, but is concerning. Whitgren's solid, unspectacular. There's just not enough hard throwers there. And yes, the Pirates trotted out a ton of hard throwers, and we lit all those guys up the last 2 games. I get it. It can be hard, but if it's straight, forget it. It'll get hit. Just ask guys like Jabba Chamberlain and Joel Zamaya from back in the day. But that's concerning to me. Is Cam Hill? Is Cam Hill going to have to be this giant X factor? Half the fan base doesn't even know who that is. But again, he doesn't throw all that hard either. So I'm comfortable with the rotation. You like what you see from Plesac, and Clevenger last night was okay, but he's working on his mechanics. But man, oh man, the bullpen. Brad Hand topping out Todd at 90 last night. Seriously,
that was a little concerning to say the least. Last year, nobody threw hard in the bullpen either. Nobody. And that was the reason why they traded for Manuel Clase, who obviously we know is suspended for the season for PEDs, and James Karinchak, who we saw last night strike out the side, and he was a little out there on the mound, huh? That was something.
Talking to the ball, and he does that. Every time he strikes somebody out, he does some sort of routine with his hands, like some sort of taunting move. Yeah,
I think people are going to hate him. Not our fans, but other fan bases are going to hate him if he's that dominant and he's that demonstrative on the mound. That's for sure. But nobody threw hard last year in the bullpen, and I know it's these guys year to year it's so volatile, and there's nothing that can derail a season quite like a bad bullpen. Right now, and this is a question I'm going to ask Andre Knott when he comes on, is I don't know who you trust out there. I know Tito obviously you're going to trust Oliver Perez and Whitgren for now, but I wonder who else. I mean, Hunter Wood pitched last night. He came in, I believe, with the bases loaded when he came in, but he got, struck out 2 of the 3. I'm not a huge Hunter Wood fan. I mean, the guy
No.
Yeah, I didn't think last night was the best he's ever looked, but he's going to have to. And the thing is, you don't know what you're going to be able to do with this bullpen because you can't. Normally, you have 60 games to figure that out. This whole season's 60 games, so it's kind of like
right. If your bullpen blows a few, it could cost you. It could cost you everything. I mean, look at the White Sox. All right, they're mashing. I know it's inter squad games. I know they're playing the Cubs, but they got hitters, man. And this Robert kid is legit. We saw what Eloy did to the Indians pitching last year. They're scary. So if Hunter Wood's thrown 85 and hangs one of those, the White Sox hitters aren't going to miss, and neither are the Twins, for that matter.
Yeah. Well, on the positive side, the starting pitching looks like it's going to be good. I know Clevenger has a little mechanical tweak that he worked out with Carl Willis, and last night he pitched 5 innings, gave up the 3 runs. He gave up a home run to some scrub that I had never heard of. By the way, that Pirates lineup, I know Gregory Polanco's injured. That team is horrible.
They're
that's
bad.
got to be the worst team. That's got to be the worst team in baseball.
They're right up there. They're pretty bad.
I mean,
Josh Bell, and you're right. Josh Bell and Polanco are good, and then that's about it.
Josh Bell's an all-star player, but I'm looking at that lineup last night. And they're like leading off. They looked up Kevin Newman. I'm like, who? That sounds fake.
I know it does. It does.
Yeah, but anyways, I think that you're still going to live and die with the strength of this team. Shane Bieber is a stud. Clevenger is a stud. Plesac looked really good to me the other night. Mixed a lot of that slider in there. He worked out all off season with Clevenger. I think we're going to see a real big jump from him. And it's also going to be interesting to see what Tito does with the rotation in terms of, we've heard he might go to a 6-man, he might go 5. Who knows? Obviously, with Adam Plutko there, you're going to have to. He's out options, and they want to keep him around, so he'll be on the roster. But we'll see how things go. I think I've heard different teams are doing different things, especially early. The Indians are trying to stretch their guys out and be ready because that's the strength of their team. But I've seen other teams.
The Pirates took their starters out after 3 innings. I mean,
they want to do that for the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, so I don't know what
that'll be something to monitor within the division, especially.
For sure. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk to Andre Knott, sideline reporter to the Stars. He's the best from Sports Time Ohio, of course, and the Indians. Also hear him on WTAM. First, though, Todd's going to tell you about Dr. Ben Hornstein and the Center for Advanced Dentistry.
Do you know who's more excited about the Indians coming back than you and me?
It can't be anybody.
Dr. Ben Hornstein at the Center for Advanced Dentistry. Tribe fans, great dentists. I have an appointment there at the beginning of August. Get my teeth cleaned. I've been reading their emails. They've been sending out emails almost on a bi-weekly basis, just updating their patients on everything they're doing to keep everybody safe and make it a healthy environment. Obviously, when you have an appointment now, you are parking in the parking lot. You call them. You'll tell them you're here. When they're ready for you, they'll shoot you a little text. You go right into your space. Everyone is masked up as always. Mask and gloves, face shields. Everybody, you're in your own space and you're very safe. And everybody is very friendly. The hygienists take great care of you. They make it as painless as possible. Dr. Ben will come in, check you out at the end with his unique brand of humor and style. You want to talk tribe? He'll talk tribe. You want to get in and out of there? Just talk about your teeth? He'll do that too. But they take such great care of me. They take such great care of everyone else I know that goes there. If you're looking for a dentist on the east side, please go and check them out at cfad.net or at cfad Beechwood on Twitter. Check them out, the Center for Advanced Dentistry, Dr. Ben Hornstein, the greatest dentist on the east side as far as I'm concerned, the greatest dentist in America. Go check him out.
Joining us here on the Dery Brothers Tribecast, as promised, from Sports Time Ohio, a sideline reporter, a fantastic job. How many years has this been for you now with the Indians, by the way? Andre Knott is with us.
Thank you, boys. I'm excited to come back. This will be year number 6, I believe. Time goes fast. Year 6 is scary for me. I got 6 years in with the Browns, and Brian Windhorst told me midway through that 6th season, he was like, dude, this is a perfect job for you. You're going to be able to do this the rest of your life. I'm so proud of you. And literally 4 weeks later, I got a call from Eric Mangini that I was no longer doing the job. So pray for me, everybody. I get to year 6.
Wait, Eric Mangini made that decision?
Well, no one
called you.
Yeah, he was one of the calls that I made. He made it out. The Browns. I can't believe the Browns basically made it out that they were going to go in a different direction because they wanted to build talent from within. So that's what football teams worried about in the 2000s. They couldn't win 4 games in the season. They were more worried about generating their own talent from within. You see where that got them.
That's very bizarre. The good news is we have you with the only team that matters, in our opinion, in the city anyways. And we love having you, and thank you again for joining us. Let me ask you, last night was the first game inside a Progressive Field with no fans. I saw when they first cut to you at the beginning, you're like, wow, I got butterflies.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
In his third row seat.
I'm gonna go sit in your seats in a couple days.
Hey, they're wide open, unfortunately. So go have at it. How was it being in the park last night for a game again? And how weird was it with the no fans?
Dude, first of all, it's awesome. I don't ever want to come off as negative because in this year it's stuff is crazy. But I was honest in the very beginning of the game. You did have butterflies because it's just been so awkward and so weird. And I can take it all the way back to March 10th or 11th, being in Arizona. And, usually about the time that everything – and I'm only going back to then to go to now to just compare how odd and eerie all of this has been. But usually in spring training, about that second or third week of March, it starts getting more people from Ohio are there. Like, I know my in-laws are getting ready to fly to Arizona. My kids had just got there. I know a lot of friends, that all fly out for those last couple of weeks of spring training. So usually the facility, like that second, third week, it's like you can't take 6 steps without seeing someone from Ohio or seeing someone that you've seen from there before. And I remember when we dropped off our bags because we were coming home because of everything, and the team truck was going to take different bags home. So I took my kids back up to the facility. And I felt bad because the kids were like, oh, Dad, we didn't get to play on the field this year, this and that. And I'm like, yeah, kids, we're probably getting ready to hide for the next, 2 months. So you can ride with me up to the ballpark, and when we drop our bags off, you can go on the field maybe and run the bases. And when we got there to drop our bags off, it was like Mike Sarbaugh, the Indians' third base coach, and it was one other coach. And they made us line up. They wouldn't let us go into the facility. We dropped our bags off outside, and there were no cars around. It was like tumbleweed, flying by. And I remember, getting back in my rental car, and my daughter was like, what's wrong, Dad? And I was just like, nothing. It's just, it was eerie. So to fast forward to last night, and it still is. Even walking out last night, when we walk out and it's so damn quiet and there's no traffic, I'm used the things that we usually complain about. Things that you complain about right now are things that are happening, and you're just like, man, where are the people? So when the game started, it was for the first inning and a half, and I even asked Underwood just when we left last night, it was just odd because you didn't want to talk too loud because you feel like everybody can hear you. But once the game kind of started, the beautiful thing is, and I hope for people at home the same thing happened, once we got in the second inning and we kind of got in a rhythm of, okay, we're doing this. It was right back to normal, but it still is very weird how empty, how quiet, not seeing the people at the garage gate, not seeing the people that you usually see on the field, the security. It's going to take a while to get used to, guys. And I know people are complaining. Some people like the noise that they're piping in. I would say this: is it odd and goofy? Yes, but it'd be more odd and more goofy if we had no noise, in my opinion.
And it didn't take long. I don't know if it was second or third inning where Manning was busting your balls about being too loud and calling people out in the booth and all. I mean, you guys try to have as much fun as you can. I guess my question, Andre, is I watched it as long as I could. Did you even do a post-game interview? Can you do any chats with players, or how does that work?
That's a good question. We did. Number one, and I was just texting with one of our tape ops before you guys call on. The chemistry that we have is real that you guys see on TV. We bust each other's balls all year long. I'm sure Manning has been sitting out in the golf course figuring out the next way he was going to bust my ball, so he couldn't wait to do that. Our text messages are X-rated in just how we tell each other to F off throughout the year, so he couldn't wait to do that. How we did the post-game interviews last night, and we're still debating this, because you have, like, if you guys have watched the end of a NASCAR race, you don't got to be a NASCAR fan to see it, where they kind of have the boom mic and the reporter like 10 feet away. But last night what we did, I went up to booth 8, which is right next to the booth that Matt and Rick are in. And I did the interview, and then they gave a player a headset right where I usually stand, and the guy with the headset was able to look at that camera, and we did the interview that way. Now, there may be a time where I stay down in my normal area with my microphone, and we do the walk-off interview with me just standing 10 feet away from the player. But last night we figured, and early on, we're not going to push everything. But right now I can do the interviews from up in the booth. But I think as this thing gets rolling and more people are comfortable, I may go back down to the field. There's a lot of things that we have ideas about, but really, to be completely 100% honest, we just wanted to get on the air yesterday and not screw that up.
No, you guys did a good job. I thought I thought, Todd, you can back me up on it. I thought it was good.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you another thing. Well, first of all, the interview with Freeman was good last night. He interviewed Mike Freeman. I think that it actually went off with no hitches at all. Like, just from watching it live, it was great, and I thought it worked. But I feel like that you've done that, not you personally, but those interviews have been done in the past. And I know on the radio, when they have the post-game one, it's usually they hand the player the headset, and Rosie does it from up top. So, probably won't be that different. And I'll tell you another thing. After watching the Pirates broadcast compared to yours, it was like watching 8th grade football compared to the NFL. I mean, that was one of the worst broadcasts I've ever seen. And I know you don't want to disparage someone else's broadcast, but all on Twitter. And Matt texted me. He's like, "Wait until you see it," because I was blacked out and I recorded and watched it the next day. He's like, "Wait until you see this." I was stunned at how bad it was.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. For me, it was nice to sit and have a beer and sit on my couch and watch. But yeah, about the halfway through, I turned it down and just listened to the radio. That's all I really did.
It was like absurd. Like they were having like a conversation, and when Arroyo hit the bases clearing,
right? They didn't even say who it was.
They were like, it was like it didn't happen in front of them. It was very bizarre.
Well, there was a couple of things, and there was a couple of things that happened that made me, and I don't want to like nitpick somebody else's broadcast, but early in the game, and I say this because I know there's a wide variety of people that listen to your guys' podcast, and I feel like when the younger kids listen, rather than go off and say, well, this guy stuck to this, it's little things that jumped out to me that instantly were like, all right, these guys, they need to do better. Like they come right out and they say, Zach Plesac's a first-round pick. And it's like, all right, dude, and I don't want to put the guy down that did it because he used Bob Walk was out because he's had COVID.
Yeah, that Michael McHenry, he was a fill-in.
Yes.
He was just a fill-in.
Yes, he was. But when you come out and 5 minutes into the broadcast, the starting pitcher, like that's easy research, right?
That's in your game notes. That's in the game notes right in front of you.
Right. So for me, and you guys know that, for me, I'm instantly like, dude, he's not a first-round pick. Like, you can, like, that's easy. That's easy. Like, an 8th grader can Google that and tell you that he's not a first-round pick. So instantly it's like, all right, dude, you didn't do the research. You're not prepared. And I hate being that stickler, but I know for us, and the one thing about our broadcast is if I say something wrong, call me out, whether it's on air, off air, text me. Like, and we all have that's a respect that we have about our broadcast. It's not the best. We have our screw ups too, but it's like, if I say something stupid, please call me. Like, I'll never forget, God, there was a player and I called his name wrong, and Underwood and they like just start laughing right on the air and didn't call me out in the air. But the chuckle was, listen to this screw up. And then there was like a text and they were like, is that Antonetti? And I can't remember who I had screwed it up with because it was actually funny. Like some of our best screw ups, most people don't even know they're screw ups because we have a way of kind of like working around it. But we record it and replay it back to each other. And it's like, hey man, remember when you screwed up? Like there's a story that I'll tell you guys off because I don't want to get in trouble. God, I want to tell this without telling it, without getting into trouble because I can't use the words. I just got to tell this. So, like, last year, Carl Willis called Shane Bieber the pillar of the Indians' rotation. Well, it was off something else from a couple of years ago, and we called somebody a pilar, and it was just like a word that we used. And our producer got in my ear like 2 seconds before, and this is in the open of the game. He's like, all right, Dre, we're going to cut, Matt's going to throw it to you. You're going to throw to that cut you got of Carl Willis, talking about Shane Bieber being a pillar of the rotation at a young age. He goes, you set it up however you want it. He goes, and please say pillar, not pilar, right? So what happens? I say Shane Bieber is a pilar of the rotation.
They put that right in your head.
Yes, and here's the thing. I said it the right way the first time. And I was like, he's a pillar, and I go, pilar, and, like, instantly in my ear is just, I mean, you would have thought we were at the Def Comedy Jam. Like, everybody's in tears because they know I screwed up. And I'll tell you guys after this podcast what pilar is to us, and I'll explain it, and you're never going to stop crying. So I wanted to dig myself underneath the field. Like, I was so embarrassed. And this is like before the first pitch of the game, right? And it gets done, and they're like, all right, Andre, go ahead and tag it. And I'm just like, and Shane Bieber is ready to go. And like we had to go to break because Matt and Rick were laughing so hard they couldn't start the game. Like, they were just literally like, we'll be right back with the first pitch. Love it. So the point is, if you don't have guys that, look, we all work with people, but if you can't keep everybody straight on simple things like that, then it's going to take the broadcast in a different place that you don't want to go.
Andre Knott with us, Tribe Field reporter from STO. Matt and Todd with you on the Dery Brothers Tribecast. All right, so Andre, about the team now as we get ready for real baseball on Friday, what do you like and what are you concerned about?
It'd be easy for me to say pitching, starting pitching. It'd be easy for me to say that. And I think so I'm going to leave that. We can talk about that later. I'm going to say, and just watching and how they put this, I like the order. And I think putting the 4 switch hitters together, I wasn't for it back in March. I'll admit that. I didn't want to bunch them up. I think I've become consumed like a lot of other fans with having the perfect balance in a lineup, and I think that's kind of stupid. If your 4 best hitters are switch hitters, you put them up there. I thought I've wanted Lindor to bat third or second for about 2 years now, so I like that. The Jose Ramirez in 2. I'm still back and forth on it, but the more I think about it, the more I watch it. When Jose is right, he doesn't swing at balls out of the strike zone. He fouls off good pitches that if he's not looking for it. If Jose is right, and I think he's going to be, he may be one of the best second hitters in baseball for a couple of reasons. One, you can't throw a fastball by him, and if you have the leadoff hitter on, he's going to get a lot of fastballs. And the second part of it is that if they put the right guys at the bottom of the order, you're going to have speed at the bottom of the order with Mercado, possibly Zimmer, and then you're going to have a ton of RBI situations for Jose. I think this offense can be prolific as long as they don't have, this is obvious. It's 60 games, as you guys know. But I think it can be prolific with the guys they have and with the energy they'll bring at the top of the order. And then, as I kind of said, the bottom, you're suddenly telling Roberto to hit 7th or 8th and try to go out and do what he did last year. And my fingers are crossed on Zimmer. If Zimmer he's the wild card. If Zimmer can live up to a little bit of his potential, there's not going to be many holes in this lineup. Now, the bigger concern because Tito wants to be aggressive on the base paths. He's not going to let them rely on trying to hit 2-run, 3-run home runs. That drives him crazy. He loves them like every other manager, but he wants his guys to be aggressive on the bases and be a pain in the ass. And I think with this short camp, you're going to see in the first 2 weeks of the season who fundamentally has their crap together. Because I know the Indians have this issue. They won't say it out loud, but I'm sure other teams have this issue. You guys have been to spring training. You guys know, and for fans that don't, there's usually like 8, 9, 10 fields during the spring training, and some fields are just for defense. Whether it be outfield stuff, whether it be infield stuff. But when you're doing these spring trainings and you're doing them separated because you don't want all the guys together at the same time, the defensive drills have been basically thrown out the window, guys. So just watching the first week and a half, who hits cutoff men, who cuts the ball off in the gaps in the outfield, you're going to see teams lose games because defensively they aren't ready, because fundamentally they aren't ready. That's something the Indians hope to take advantage of early on. My concern is the bullpen. I mean, point blank. It's Clase not being able to perform. I don't know if he would have been able to be a closer this year for the Indians or an eighth-inning guy, but they need as many arms as they can right now. Tito's been a magician in the past to kind of patchworking guys together. I thought last night, and I've texted with you guys and told you guys times where weird shit seems to happen, and I always kind of tell you guys sometimes Tito does things that make for great fights on Twitter, but he's doing things to stir things up. Something I don't want to say stir things up, but he does things sometimes to make conversation within their own ball club to figure out what guys have. Like last night, Bell was coming up with the bases loaded, and he goes and gets Simber, and we all are kind of like, ooh, why would he pick Simber? Simber strikes him out. And then he goes into the dugout, and we're going, okay, Simber just struck out one of the best hitters in baseball with the bases loaded. To me, that's Tito trying to get a feel for, if I put Adam Simber in this situation when a game matters, can I trust him to do it? So we all feel good about it, right? And then he comes back out, and he can't get it out. That's my concern right there. And I'm not just calling out Adam Simber. There's just a lot of arms that you don't know. Like, there's a guy like Cam Hill who may or may not make the team. I think you're going to see him at some point in time.
He's got to make it.
I hope he does. But I think here's the guys that James Hoyt is going to get an opportunity because he's a little bit older, mature, but he hasn't been throwing the ball as hard as he was at the end of last year. Now, could that just be – I mean, that just could be how this setup is, and how long will it take him to get it back to throwing 95 miles an hour? Ali Perez – all right, here's a question I keep asking everybody. If Brad Hand pitches 2 days in a row and we walk into the ballpark right now, who would you have close the game?
I got to go with Aaron Jack.
Yeah,
it's got to be him. Who else could it be? I mean, like Matt and I were having this conversation before, and we were going to ask you this anyways. But right now, outside of Whitgren and Ali, who and Hand, but I don't even know how his velocity was down again last night. Yeah. Who is he trusting? And is it basically just because it's 60 games? And Matt and I were talking about this before, but normally in the 60-game span, you figure out the first 50 games. You figure out, okay, these are going to be my setup guys. That's the whole season now. So,
right.
What kind of a leash is he going to have in trying these guys in different spots? And is he going to just be like, okay, today I'm going to try Simber, tomorrow I'm going to try Hunter Wood, the next day I'm going to try Hoyt?
Yep.
I mean, how do you think that's going to play out?
I think you just like I said last night. If you pay attention, and we've texted, you pay attention. He did that on purpose last night. Now, and I'm not calling him out. I kind of know how he works. And I thought and then did you notice Hunter Wood threw? I've never seen him throw so many curveballs in his life. And I didn't get to talk to him afterwards last night. It was almost like Hunter Wood wanted to go out and prove he could throw off-speed pitches.
Because that's all he threw.
It was junk last night. Yeah.
It was all junk.
And so I think Hunter Wood doesn't say a lot. He's very, 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 very quiet. Scary quiet, him and Aaron Savali. I don't think they've said 8 words in the last year to anybody in Cleveland. And that's not a bad thing. I think day by day they're just going to try it. And Tito is – the one thing Tito is really good at, he won't come out and say it, is that he doesn't go just off of numbers and matchups, but he knows them. Does that make sense? And I think early on, to go off of your question, he will rely upon what the numbers say are the best matchups. You like if Hunter Wood, if you're going against a guy that doesn't deal with the sinker well or doesn't deal with a fastball away, he'll go with Hunter Wood. If you're dealing with a guy that he'll that's how he'll match up. I thought he was great with like Nick Goody. You guys know the names of guys that we looked at their stuff in spring training and we're like, this guy, no way he'll make it a whole season. And before you know it, they end the season with a 3.3 ERA. And we watched every single game, and you're like, I didn't think that guy was that great. They're going to protect their guys as best they can, but you can only protect them so much. Like, somebody's going to have to get the big out. Somebody's going to have to face the middle of that White Sox lineup, in the 8th inning or 9th inning. It's going to happen. And at some point in time, some guys are just going to have to step up. And that's my only concern. But I hope they score enough early on, and the starting pitching is as good as we think that it is, that it's easier to figure it out. If the pitching isn't as good, the starting pitching isn't as good early, and they don't score a lot of runs early, this is going to be a roller coaster ride, in my opinion.
It always seems like there's one guy every year. Like, I know Matt Albers one year, then it was Atchison, then it was Otero, then it was Manship. You know, it was like one a year when ours emerged.
Jeff Manship.
Right? Last year was Whitgren. No one knew he was going to be that great. He was the key right-handed center man. So,
exactly.
Yeah. So hopefully Tito's got some of that magic in him. Again,
I hope. Or the second thing is, and I thought this was thought of. Now today, and we're recording this Tuesday at noon. They're going to come out with what they're going to do with the pitching staff. I think at one point in time, guys, that they were thinking of possibly moving a Plesac or somebody like that just for this year. But Plesac has looked so damn good and worked his butt off so well. He deserves to be a starter, right? I mean, he is, and even his uncle has said he always thought he was going to be a relief guy. I mean, he looks like a relief guy at times. I mean, last year, and Zach got by just on pure, he got by on nuts. And he was just competitive. Like he was, at times he would pitch. Guys knew what was coming. He was showing, but he was young, and he competed so hard, and then worked his tail off so good in the off season that I think they want him to start. But I thought that this would be the type of year that you could piggyback and you could use him in the 6th or 7th inning. And he's worked his tail off. But they're going to let him. He's going to be one of the starters. So the question is, Adam Pleco, how are you going to use him? And Adam is he's important to the staff. Can you use him to save your butt a couple times a week in the 6th inning, maybe 7th inning? Because as you guys know, the closer is the most important guy in the bullpen. But if you can't get to him, it doesn't matter how good he is or bad he is.
Exactly.
What about the log jam in terms of the roster? You know, what do you do with Jake Bowers? What about Yu Chang? How do you think that all shakes out?
It's a good question because, and Tito admitted this. He's admitted this over the last couple of days. It's not going to be fair. He even said about Daniel Johnson, who they sent down yesterday. Kid played his butt off. He's close to a major league player. He's ready. But it just doesn't fit because they have this log jam in the outfield. And for me, yeah, we're worried about the next 60 games. We want to do whatever we can to win now. But I think they got to figure out the future. Naquin's 29 years old. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but it just doesn't seem like he's already that old. And that's that old, but you guys get the drift. Zimmer's 26, I believe, already. Those are 2 first-round picks. And if the team like the Indians, how they're set up financially, they're going to be successful. Your first-round picks have to be cultivated not to play, right? Right? Those got to be your guys, and they got to play. Not everyone's got to turn into Lindor, but you got to come pretty damn close to being an everyday player to make you a first-round pick that matters. So those 2 guys, to me, this is a big year for them. And God bless Naquin for getting healthy and working his tail off during this offseason. God bless Zimmer, because Zimmer didn't make a lot of people happy at the end of the last season when he basically came out and didn't want to go to winter ball, didn't want to do anything else. And I get it. He's been hurt forever. He was sick of being in Arizona, and it may have been the best move. He's changed his batting stance. He's mentally in a better place. Jake Bowers looks like he's in better shape. And Jake's thing is, Jake is just young. And Jake's a good kid. He's just young. And I think that, and I don't want to, and if this got back to him, I could talk to him about it, so I'll say it. I think, and this is just my opinion, that the game always came pretty easy for Jake, is what it looks like from afar, in my opinion. And I think this happens to a lot of athletes. I think we've seen it in all sports. And then I think he got to the big leagues pretty quick because of all of his tools. And suddenly he realizes, even though I've got all these tools and great looks and great body for the game is still hard as shit. And he had to deal with it. And I think we've all seen it.
Oh, he needed a wake-up call. He did.
Yes. I mean, think about it. All of us know the guy that hits 500-600 in high school. And then he goes and starts seeing some sliders in college or in junior college, and suddenly Babe Ruth is, a baby Ruth.
That's right.
It's what happened. And for some of us, it happened in high school. Some people, it happened in college. I think for Jake, it happened in AAA in the big leagues with 1 million people watching, and that was hard to take. But at the same time, in saying all that, I don't know if he fits. He's a first baseman. He's an unbelievable first baseman, but he ain't going to play over Carlos Santana. Delino DeShields isn't going to start the season. Domingo Santana is going to get a chance, the first chance. But I like the outfield that we had last night. You had 3 guys that can play center field. Naquin can run, but he's not a center fielder. It is a log jam. And God bless Tito to try to make all of them happy, because everybody ain't going to be happy. at the end of the day. Let's just be honest.
And they're going to face, and I said earlier, they're going to face two lefties to start the season. It looks like Danny Duffy and Mike Montgomery, so he's going to have to play Luplow, I'm assuming, and Santana,
right.
and
which is good. Luplow went deep off a righty last night too, which was great to see. And you want to talk about someone who surprised last year. I mean, that guy by the end of the season, he was about you could count on him about as much as you could count on anybody.
Right? Can I say something that's scary? Luplow may be pretty damn good. And I don't know if we even know yet. Like he does. Like we can't put him in the Ryan Rayburn box just yet. He may be, and I love Ryan Rayburn. You get the drift. He may be able to play, and I know he wants to prove it. I mean, he played in college with Aaron Judge and hit in front of Aaron Judge. Not that means that makes him better or worse, but he's got a quiet confidence to him and knows how to play the game. Is what I'm getting at. He may be better than just the platoon guy, and he wants to prove it. He's just got to stay healthy, man.
I just checked the ages, by the way, of the majority of these outfielders. So Bowers is only 24. So
right.
The Indians are not giving up on Bowers anytime soon. There might not be ABs for him this year, but depending on the financial situation and Carlos's option, he may be at first next year. So he's only 24. Luplow's 26. Zimmer's 27.
Oof.
Greg Allen's 27, and Naquin's 29.
Right. You would never think Greg Allen's 20. You would never think Zimmer and Allen are 27, would you? They both seem like they're still right out of college. But this thing moves fast, and I think that's why. And Manning said this on the broadcast last night. We've talked about all these outfielders, and we didn't even talk about Greg Allen. That's nothing against Greg Allen. It's just like as soon as they got Delino DeShields, I remember I said to somebody, "Are they trying to put a deal together to move some of these outfielders, these glut?" And even the Pittsburgh guys last night were saying to us before the game, like they're moving that Tucker kid who was a first-round pick.
Yeah,
they're moving him out to the outfield, and I think he can play, by the way. And they're moving him to the outfield because they've got Eric Gonzalez, they got the kid they traded for. They made a terrible trade, by the way, when they gave up Austin Meadows. But that's a whole.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
That's a whole other podcast. But the Pittsburgh guys are telling us, yeah, man, we need outfielders, and we're like, well, the Indians and Pirates should make a trade at some point in time.
Yes.
They have what we need.
Any relievers we can get from them?
Well, right. Well, that's what I said. But their problem is they don't want to. They got a couple arms too, man. But they don't want to give them up because their closers is sitting in jail right now, getting ready to go to prison forever. So they don't know who's going to close their games.
That's right. The two things in Pittsburgh that are shut down: their closer and the original hot dog shop.
Yeah, the O. It's over for the O.
Yes. Well, last night you'll get back. Anybody that's ever done a broadcast will get this. So we're talking about Pittsburgh, and we're going back and forth about how great their year started off, and I just blurred out with my mic open. Yeah, and they lost their closer last year, and I was in my head, I'm like, oh shit, you can't talk about that.
That's right. Oh man! All right. So what do you think? Obviously, like you said, rotation and all that aside, I mean, how good can this season be? And look, people are picking. I saw Jim Bowden pick the Indians. Most people are picking the Twins. Others love this White Sox young group. What do you see for this team?
Man, I think they can win the division because of the starting pitching. I think they made a challenge during quarantine that whenever the season started, they wanted to come back and not miss a beat. And watching, this is the second time I bring up Aaron Savali. There's not a lot I can say about him, but damn, I can't wait to watch him pitch every night. And that's your fourth starter. I think that says more than anything else. If he goes against the fourth starter of most teams in the American League Central, he's definitely going to win the game, right? I think all of us could see that. I just think the pitching is set up for this team to win. And I think a 60-game season covers up the warts of the bullpen. It won't show nearly as much if you played 162. They probably would need some more arms in that pen, or they would need somebody more established in that pen. But I think at 60 games, if the starters are where they are, and if you can get, with the warm weather, there's no excuse for a slow start, in my opinion, for the hitters. I will say this about the Twins, and I'll say this about the White Sox. I think the White Sox are going to be one of the best softball teams we've seen in 20 years.
Yes.
I think if you're into putting some money down for games and overs, I think the White Sox are where you want to be. I think the Twins are. Look, the thing I'll take over the White Sox and Twins is this: they may be great softball teams, but you tell me, and like I just said, on the third day or the fourth day of the season, who are they throwing out there on the mound to eat up 100 pitches? The Indians have better guys than they do for that. And I think the Indians can score enough runs. So we'll see. And look, not having to play the Yankees, not having to play the anybody in the Tampa Bay.
The Rays and A's from last year?
Yeah, the Rays, A's. You guys know the teams that we can't beat. As long as we don't got to play those guys, I think we're in good standing. So I'm going to take us. It's going to be hard, but I would say this. I guess I would ask this. First team to 32 wins, maybe 32 wins. Is that like first? I mean, you have to win more, but I think the first team to 32 wins the division is what I would think.
I just think the three teams are going to be very tightly bunched the entire year, which is going to make for an interesting stretch run because if you look at the Indians' schedule, they get the Tigers for 3 and the White Sox for 4, and then the Pirates for 3 to finish the season.
Were you sitting at Were you sitting at our kitchen table this morning? Because it's like you were sitting there. Because all right, so my wife and I always put like the team schedule on our calendar in our kitchen, so she knows where I'm at. You know, just so the kids, whoever's at the nanny or whoever knows where I'm at. And usually we wait until a certain amount of time because I'm weird like that, and it's a stupid superstition.
I do the same thing, by the way, but I don't work for the team.
Okay, right.
Literally, same exact thing.
So today, my wife is like, she's like, so you're going to put up the new schedule on the calendar, or are you going to wait till Friday? And I was like, I may wait till Saturday. I was like, I don't want to, because we still got the old schedule up on it. And I was like, yeah, I guess we can trust that it's going to start. So
this is insane. I did the same yesterday. I have the old schedule in my office on my desk because normally I print out the old schedule and then our ticket schedule are next to each other. I took down the old 2020 schedule and put up the new one. I printed it yesterday and put it up. I swear to God.
That is hilarious.
Because I'm with you, and Matt, Matt will tell you, I have been from day one saying I will not believe the season happens until
Friday.
Friday, July 24th.
Still got 3 more days.
Yeah, me too. We're in the same boat. I've been saying it. I was like, I'm not believing anything's coming back until I actually see it. And I'll admit, I've been cautiously optimistic. But last night, it was here. To go off your first question, it's hard not to get excited when we were in the park yesterday. I've been 50-50, but I will admit, when we saw 2 teams on the field and it felt like we had the national anthem, it finally hit me that, like, okay, this is going to happen. So I think when I get done with you guys, I'm going to quietly go into the office and I'm going to take the calendar down and I'm going to write down the schedule. So you know the last 3 weeks of the schedule, and I like it. I like the Pirates, Detroit.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just got to get through that middle part, going into, I want to say the end of August, beginning of September may be a little tough, I think.
Yeah, you're in at the end of the month of August. You got Minnesota for 3, St. Louis for 2 on the road, Kansas City and then you got 4 against Milwaukee. So
and who knows? Yeah. And we said this last night on the air, and the NL Central is so weird. Any of those teams can be a pain in the butt. Like, I think the Reds are going to be pretty good. I think
they are.
St. Louis, I didn't think was that great last year, and they won the division. But that's St. Louis, you know. The Cubs are the Cubs. They could that's just a weird division to play. It really is.
All right, dude, that was a lot of fun, man. Keep up the great work. We didn't even plug A to Z.
Yes, A to Z. The podcast is. They're hoping. Let me ask you guys this. Thanks for plugging A to Z. I know both of you guys are football fans like I am. Zach and I have gone back and forth, and I know it's Zach's livelihoods. And my neighbor called it out perfect. He goes, "You got to quit calling Z out about football season on the podcast." He goes, "That's his moneymaker. You calling him saying it's not going to happen." I want football to happen. I do. You guys you guys know I'm not negative, but I just don't see it, guys. I don't see how we're going to have football in a month and a half. I hope it is, but what are you guys? I'm just curious. What are you guys' thoughts on when we'll see football?
I can tell you on my side, I don't think college football will happen. Yeah, I don't know how you can force these college kids. The NFL is a different animal because, they have a union. They're getting paid. It's a totally different situation. I don't know how these kids are going to go out there and play in a month. I think the NFL will happen one way or another. They will figure it out and force it to happen. College, no. Matt, what do you think?
No, I'm the same way. I mean, I think Goodell, the league has gone forward with everything, the draft, free agency, and now they're saying players are reporting next week, a week from today, which is insane to me. But I've talked to some friends of mine with the Lions. I know that a couple, the Browns, the Vikings, and Peter King's story was really good about it. He went into the Vikings facility, and it's this revamped thing. Now, will it work? Will they test below that 5% number? I don't think there's a chance. No way. But Goodell will find a way to have him out there.
Yeah, you're right. Matt, you know what, though? I said the same thing. I said the same thing about when all our players came in. That was the most nervous week of the year. Well, there's been a lot of nervous weeks this year. But that was my most nerve-wracking week. I was like, all these guys are coming from the worst places ever. So
right.
And knock on wood, I love that our testing has worked so far in baseball. But you're right. We're talking 90 guys a team that are going to come in the next week and a half.
Right, and they're tackling and blocking each other.
Yes, the travel. I mean, think about the offensive line. Like how are we the offensive line? And I want football. I don't want people to think that I don't want. I want it. I just know that you got guys breathing on top of each other for 2 hours, 2.5 hours a game. I hope it happens because we need it. The tweets that we got and the text messages we got just doing baseball last night of how many people just were saying thank you for giving us the distraction. We need football. Football is a part of this. I'm not optimistic about it right now, unfortunately.
I think it was Zach who said it on the pod when he said, I'll know that there's football when J.C. Treader tells me so, because that guy's getting touched, 150 times a game. So
exactly.
I get it. The other thing is that was brought up on the pod was, what happens if all of a sudden it's December and Garrett Gilbert is the only healthy quarterback for the Browns because the other two have coronavirus? So right. I don't even know if I want to see that.
Next man up. I think that's how Goodell and the league are looking at it. All right, Andre, we love you, man. Keep up the great work, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Talk to you guys soon. Appreciate you guys.
There he is, Andre Knott from STO. Todd, that was a lot of fun as always. Another edition in the books. We got real baseball, dude, this Friday. Tribe and Royals. Cannot wait. This should be a lot of fun, man. I think I agree with a lot of things Andre had to say. I think this is a good. I almost said football. This is a good baseball team. This is going to be just getting back to live sports, getting back to the boys being out there. There's nothing better.
Let's go. Let's just get me to Friday.
That's it. We're brought to you by the Center for Advanced Dentistry. Matt and Todd with you, Dery Brothers Tribecast. We'll talk about the standings. We'll talk about wins and losses next week.